Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of TechCloud TV. It's your boy Truong here, and I have a special guest, someone really predominant in the Australian blockchain, not just Australian, international blockchain area. And we're following this series where we're looking at all things blockchain and cryptocurrency on this channel now. I'd like to welcome Lucy to the channel.
Hi, Ron. How are you all?
I'm great, Lucy. Thank you for asking. So I guess I got you on the channel because when I look into LinkedIn, I see your posts everywhere. You're all over the blockchain area. You run a business. You contract out for many companies. So briefly, give us an introduction of who you are in this industry, and I guess where you came from and why you went into blockchain.
Yeah, so I am a bit predominant on LinkedIn. It's probably my favorite channel. But I worked 15 years in corporate marketing. So I used to work for organizations like American Express, Qantas Airways, U Technologies, and I've lived around the world. So I've lived in 5 countries around the world on 4 continents, in Japan, Canada, UK, Taiwan, and also Australia. So I am Australian. And I had a corporate career for about 15 years, and then about 3 years ago, I started my own marketing consultancy. And what we do is really focus on emerging technologies. And emerging technologies definitely includes blockchain, cryptocurrency, etc. So when I started my business about 3 years ago, that was when the blockchain, well, the Bitcoin prices were like going through the roof. It was well, Australian prices was about $23,000 for one Bitcoin. It was going nuts, and who they desperately needed was more marketing people. And I was transitioning out of my corporate career then, and then kind of like jumped on a little bit on the bandwagon. So this was about 3 years ago, and I've been in it ever since. I think it's a really interesting and also exciting. It's a very interesting and exciting segment. Certainly, there's a lot of people who believe in the technology, and also believe in what the value could bring as well. So I've been in the space for 3 years, but because my company works and looks after emerging technologies, it's not just blockchain, but I also look after AI, smart cities, robotics, anything to do with emerging tech. I do the marketing, communications, community management, etc. for.
Cool. So Lucy, do you find yourself as a technical person, or do you find yourself you stay in the marketing area and then just market for the blockchain and crypto and AI?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say that I'm not a coder, I'm not a programmer. And I guess one of the misconceptions of the people in this space, like especially as it is so new and so emerging still, they think everybody in this industry is only have computer science degrees or information systems degrees. I have a information communications degree from university, so I did do some programming subjects when I was doing my undergrad, but predominantly it was a communications undergrad degree.
Cool.
What I do understand is I do understand the technical, definitely not in the same realm that say you do, because you're an IT computer science person, but I understand it enough to be able to really help founders, departments, organizations who are building innovative products and services, especially in this new space, to go out to the market and really help them with their products, growth, scalability, and also go-to-market strategy. So you don't have to be a technical person to be in this space, but everybody needs to be in a new industry. It be marketing, communications, legal people, finance people. If you think about any new industries that is looking to get traction, you need everybody to kind of to come in and to really build that up from scratch. So yeah, it's not just for technical people, but I certainly understand some of the technical stuff. But really, my job is to really help evangelize this industry, bring more awareness, and to really, really help bring this to the mainstream.
Cool. So yeah, that great point you raised there. about not being too technical. There's a need for all sorts of skill sets, like marketing as yourself, and all skill sets for any new industry. So for the females out there, they're looking to jump into, I guess, cryptocurrency, and they're not technical, maybe they're into marketing, to start off their careers or build their own startups. What are the most valuable pieces of advice that you received in your career and would pass on?
So I'm quite a very passionate person for women in technologies and this industry. So I kind of, initially I was a little bit like, oh, I'm not going to go full in. But the thing is, and the reality is that there's not that many females in the space. There's fewer females in technology industries, regardless, full stop, because it's still relatively a new industry. But being in the emerging tech space where I sit, at the bleeding cutting edge of technology, there's even fewer females in this space, and I'm like one of the lone few voices that is in this space. And so it's hard when you're a lone voice. And so to get more traction, I do believe it is to band together with other people so you can actually grow that movement and grow that association a lot more, so your voices, your collective voices, could be heard more. So for me, lately anyhow, and certainly something that I'm very passionate about, is to be to speak up really, and speak up more about the issues that we're finding, the challenges that I face, and also to really band together with more women in the space who's already doing it, so I can learn from them. I can also share other knowledge and information with them, and to really, it's quite important, I think, to kind of like get that camaraderie and to also build that network so we can actually make more movements and make more changes. And certainly that's something that I've been really pushing on this year as something as one of my goals. So from a woman in tech or woman in blockchain perspective, I have been quite heavily involved, and I am also raising more awareness about why we need to include more people, not just like, one specific gender or race, etc. Especially this year, it's a hot topic, but to include more inclusion, diversity into every single industry.
Cool. Awesome. So as an expert, where do you see the industry in the next 5 years and its inclusivity?
I think this year is a huge turning point, 2020. Like, we've seen everything that's happening, especially from what's happening in Minneapolis, and then what's happening with the police, and all the ripple effects that's all happening around the world. And certainly, lots of marching and protesting and awareness about all these things. I think it's incredibly important and vital. And I know it's uncomfortable for a lot of people, but we need to have these conversations. And it's to do with human rights, really, and to be included in every single industry is incredibly important. And so I think in the next few years, like, we're still going to be probably raising more voices around it, and getting more awareness and gaining traction. And hopefully within 5 years, we're actually going to see some policy changes, and we're going to see a lot more movement in terms of it being baked in from a legislative perspective, and policy changes that will actually make it a mandatory item in our society. So that's what I hope for in the next 5 years.
Cool. Just wrapping up, how can the community get more involved and supportive of, I guess, women in blockchain and women in technology? Is there certain places, meetups I should go to, things I should join? Talk around that for me.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that's already present. There is a lot of events and networks and association. You can just do a simple search and you'll see this is a growing movement, and I like it to continue to see it being a growing movement. So there are quite a number of meetups and events, especially online. I'm trying, I'm speaking at a number of them, so definitely follow myself I'm Lucy Lynn on LinkedIn, but also Lucy Lynn 007 on Twitter. So I'll always promote whatever I'm involved in. I also think what's really important is to have male champions. So it's really great, Truong, that you're doing this, because the male champions are a really important factor to allow more people of other genders and diversity and races and abilities and, you know, sexual orientations or whatever else, like, to be able to come in and to be embraced. So it's great to see more male champions allowing, you know, a bit of space within themselves to, you know, include other peoples. And that's what we have to see and need, because then you'll just see so many of the same homogenous group of people. So we need to have shake up, because we need the incumbent people right now to be able to really help as well. So it's great to see that, but there's certainly a lot of movement. So yeah, I'm just follow, like, you know, my website is forestlyn.com, and there's definitely a lot of information on there that you can follow and see. But if you look it up online, there's definitely a growing amount of items that's coming as well.
Sure. Just one more question that that I'm adding is, last night the Prime Minister had an announcement into funding for emerging tech or emerging. Did you see that? Did you see that announcement?
No.
Okay, cool. So he's pushing, I guess, some funding into this area. So it's quite exciting. So that's cool. Maybe once you read it, you can share your social medias, and then we can share that, your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's time. To be honest, I went on to there's a national show on Australian TV anyways. It's called Q&A.
Yep.
And I was on the national TV show, and I asked a question about funding for startups, entrepreneurs, but also for female founders as well. That was one of the questions I asked the panel. So the topic of the conversation was called Australia Reimagined. And I asked a question specifically about, well, you know, how are we going to get more funding? How are we going to support our startups? How are we going to support innovation in this country? So it's fantastic to see that the Prime Minister has come out and said that they are going to support more funding, because without funding in this country, innovation will die. And we need to, you know, funding and money will fuel startups, but, you know, innovation and new products and services. And it's, you know, it just doesn't come from just government, but it comes from angel investors, it comes from VCs, it comes from companies being clients and suppliers, etc. So everybody needs to pitch in if we want to see more innovation happen in this country, and certainly globally as well. Like, I think there's, like, because of where we are with this pandemic, it's quite sad. I think a lot of startups, I think, have failed or they're about to fail. So it's great to see that there's more money that's being pumped in specifically to fuel emerging tech and or innovation and entrepreneurship.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so that's a wrap up. So thank you for your time today, Lucy. It was great to hear some of your insights. I talk to you all the time, but just specifically going into the details and the nitty gritty of some of these things that I guess not the community doesn't know, especially in a new emerging area. So thank you for being candid and giving us some time for myself and my community out there. I'll share all your socials, and yeah, we'll put this video in multiple places so we can hype up your popularity and bring more women to the blockchain.
Yeah, it would be great to see more inclusivity and diversity in emerging tech, and that's what I hope for, and hopefully we can start changing this conversation. Again, very accessible. If you have any questions, my website's forestlyn.com, but you can also find me either on LinkedIn at Lucy Lynn, Twitter is Lucy Lynn 007, or Instagram, Facebook is Forestlyn1. It's my company's site.
Cool. Thank you, Lucy. Thanks again. We'll catch up in a couple of weeks or months or something. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Truong. Thanks, everyone, and please be safe.
No worries.